Welcome back to Call Me Obsessed podcast. Today, we're getting into all the tea on one of the most popular shows, Married at First Sight, season 13 of Australia. We are welcomed with Rosa and body language expert and behavioral specialist, Scott Taylor. Hey, guys.
Glad to speak with you.
Scott, can you tell us how you started doing recaps for Married at First Sight?
I've been doing a lot in the behavior space about pre-violence indicators, confidence indicators, and passing skills on to people to be more aware and improve the way they communicate. After doing a lot of TV and radio and things, somebody said to me, can you set up a TikTok and do a review of Married at First Sight? My initial response was, nobody is going to listen to a 52-year-old person review Married at First Sight and share behavior. I did the video and it went nuts. 24 hours later, somebody said, can you do this now on anybody? Can you review someone's behavior and share about it? And I said, sure. So they sent me a video. I said, this is where it's fake upset. This is where a person's not being truthful. That got about 1.6 million views. I realized that people may be interested in this sort of stuff. What I didn't realize is how they would use Married at First Sight videos and the behavior review to help other elements of their life on how they communicate, on what they're aware of. That's where it started. From there, I've been doing it for multiple seasons now, and it's been a lot of fun.
And that is the most important thing. It should be fun.
I take some notes during the episode, I hit record, and I share everything that I see. That bit of raw and organic type feel as well has gone really well.
I love that. I have a little problem with, for myself, I moved my hand. I have to re-edit it. The whole opposite is so funny.
I'm a big reality fan and I like the drama because I don't have a lot of drama in my life, but I like the drama. Out of this season's participants, who do you think has genuinely come on for love as opposed to looking for fame and recognition?
Very few people. So yeah, Stella show natural connection. I talk about this ventral area, which is a line across our shoulders and a triangle down to our belly button. Those in these power zone areas, this is what we align with openness and connection. Even when the experts are speaking to Philip, he angles all of his attention towards Stella. Mirror each other's gestures. They mirror each other's head tilt. There's natural affection, not Gia and Scott 90-degree fake affection where everything's at 90 degrees and can you see my hands on her shoulder and everything's staged. They're natural. They're legitimate. Alyssa and David is fake and Scott are fake. Just trying to think other couples. Really, that would probably be it from the ones that are legitimate. Sam, come across as being very genuine with things in that as well. See natural human reaction where Chris has shared some things about what he's doing from a fatherhood. You see pride. You see support for these sort of things. Aside from them, the others not
so much. Yeah, totally agree with what you're saying.
Okay, do you think Rachel and Steve? I get a friend vibe, and I think he's trying.
There's an element of trying. They're close with each other. You see that even when they're sitting next to each other, they don't readjust their positioning for external appearance. They're relaxed and comfortable with each other. But I think it will progress into a deeper relationship. No. I see Rachel showing more non-verbals aligned to better connection with Stephen. He doesn't reciprocate that. It's not awkwardness or lack of affection experience. It's some of the natural ones that we naturally lean into what we like. We share more of this area of what we like. I'm not saying things like that.
Okay. When they come to the dinner party and they decide to announce the status of their relationship, do you think they're doing that for validation or is it because they're insecure in their own match?
Doing that for some additional airtime to get some more followers and do these sort of things. So if you notice, they go through all this stress and drama, but the morning of the commitment ceremony or the dinner party, it's, you know what, we're better than ever. We're the power couple. We're strong. It's all fake. They're doing those. It's a matter of you don't have an image reset just before a big public, like a main relationship reset. So a lot of it is about from the staged point of view. Some of them, when you see when they're doing these announcements, are doing things where they know they should do it for more attention and camera time, but they don't want to. So you'll see a couple of times where Beck stood up for an announcement and her self-pacifying baseline has got a lot worse just before she's doing the announcement.
That's the moment in the red dress at the retreat and she stood up and I noticed that. I was like, what is she doing with her hands?
Here's the thing. When you said about what she's doing with her hands, that's been part of her baseline probably 60 to 70% of the time. But it was more evident because it really escalated. She was doing, in other words, this will be good. Producers have probably said I can make a big impact here. However, she had strong discomfort with it. A lot of what you do there for these sort of things with the announcements that you see, I want to be the instigator of drama. I want some more airtime for these sort of things as well. Or from a pride and ego point of view, look how much closer we are than you. We are this year's power couple. I'm sick of hearing the words ride or die this season. If you had a drink every time you heard the phrase ride or die, we'd be hammered every episode. You don't need to say to be honest if you're being honest. These people are filling for depth. So to be honest, I actually did up a bingo scorecard like that I'd shared before and said, have a drink. I had people message me saying, I'm going to get alcohol poisoning if I use your bingo scorecard.
What do you think motivates people to write down stay when you can clearly see that their relationship is broken down and the other person's written leave, which is forcing them to stay when they're really not getting on?
Some of the ones will do that I want to leave on my own terms. I want a week to clean my image up and show you. So if you see a lot of people when they do these, for that week when they've done that, you'll see that their behavior suddenly changes. I'm really listening to the experts. I'm really going all in. And all they're doing is stalling for time. And then they'll find something trivial as to why they need to flare up just before the next dinner party or commitment ceremony. Do I think out of the couples this year that they've written stay when they've done that to try and think that they can repair the relationship? No. I mean, look at Mel and Luke and doing these sort of things. It's if I have another week, I can leave on my own terms. I can look like I'm making the effort, and it gives me time to think about how I can do some things better to manage my perception and get a few more Instagram followers.
Who do you think has a healthy communication style when it comes to confrontation or conflicts in their relationship and in general?
One of the healthiest conversations you've seen is, I'm going to say, the Philip 75% conversation, where there's a level of comfort where, hey, we're comfortable and these sort of things at the moment now, and there's something to debrief and discuss. I felt this way. Here's how you made me feel. It's another part adding a layer of complexity here with transparency and vulnerability. So with Philip saying, I need to say 75%, the relationship's good, but there's logistical parts, how I fit in your lifestyle. He knew that would cause some discomfort, but their relationship dynamic was, this is important to us. We need to share and be honest about it. And for the most mature, open, and best approach like you're to that, I think that's been a very healthy dynamic with how things are being communicated there.
Yes.
Can you imagine that conversation afterwards and off filming is, well, I'm at 100. What'd you say 75 for? That made me look bad. So when he did that, I was watching Stella's face change. And there was a part where she sort of sat and processed, but then she leaned into it. In other words, I get it. And that's what you see when people have maturity, emotional intelligence, and that commitment to to transparency. That's what shows a healthy relationship. So I think they've had the best for those reasons based on what we've seen.
They look like a pretty strong couple.
Yeah, resilient couple. I think when you see these things, they're open and honest about the fact that this is an unusual dynamic. It's a pressure environment. But if we commit to each other to share, to be vulnerable for these sort of things, then I think that's a good path forward.
Stella impresses me. And she stared at Brooke as Brooke was yelling at her when I watched it a few days ago. I was so impressed with that. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, she hasn't said anything in a really long time. She's just letting Brooke look like a fool. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I would have done that. I think the flight or fight, I think my fight would have came up, and I was impressed.
There was a couple of things about that. One, she didn't fire back. There wasn't a defensive response. The other part, there wasn't a withdrawal for things out of fear. And when you've got somebody like that who is at you, and apparently this went for some time with these things as well, that's somebody who has got some deeper self-confidence, not like a Tyson or somebody who's shallow and lacks real self-confidence. It's somebody who's got confidence like in their space for things as well. So she did that. And her response was, did you notice I'm not talking? I'm not saying anything. This has been all you. And she completely depowered her. So I thought she managed that with class and poise. I thought it was really well handled.
Yeah. Do you think any of them are actually taking to heart any of the advice that the experts are giving them, or are they just paying lip service?
There's a big difference with people who are actually listening or are just waiting for a chance to talk. So you see people that will talk like Juliet, Gia, others, when they're getting feedback, their mouth slightly open, they're not in the head, they're going, yep, like Chris does like as well. That's somebody waiting for a chance to speak. They're not listening and taking on board some of the feedback. I mean, there's a couple of things. If we need to identify when people are communicating what conversation they're having, practical, social, or emotional. There's a guy called Chris Voss from over there in the States who's fantastic when he talks about this sort of content. If somebody's having an emotional conversation, if they're deep in stress, anger, and emotional element, you can't have a practical conversation with them and been sharing feedback and information. Their brain is too switched onto the emotion to take that in. So you need to close the gap. So what happens with some of the conversations and your feedback you see that you're getting from the experts, there's people that are too deep in the emotion at that time to really take it on. And so sometimes the timing needs to be better for them to take on that feedback. But few people take on feedback from there as well. We had Steve and Rebecca before that obviously left. Rebecca would take on some feedback for some of those more than Steve. You see Stephen and Rachel take on some feedback, but like I said, I just don't see the connection and dynamic there.
Yeah.
Once again, Philip and Stella, but few people. They like to come into the experts to not as, I'm going to say probably Alyssa and David are the most prepped. You notice when they've come in, they've always got 3 or 4 buzz phrases. Their sentences they speak is 5 or 6 words, and then they'll go to the next sentence because she's so precious to me. And when she gives me space, I feel like this. That's when people practice and pre-rehearse phrasing. They're sharing it as they've read it and as they've learnt it. So that's not genuine responses to the experts. That's throwing some things out. I'll give you the best example that people will dislike terribly, especially from the cast. I'll be off their Christmas card list for this. Alyssa and David was so pre-rehearsed with some of these lines that they throw them out. There's one episode where Alyssa came in and said, look, it's because I just operate on a higher frequency. I'm used to these things. Now they're saying another pre-rehearsed line. They're looking for one of the experts to jump on it. Now what happened was Mel then stepped in and said during the conversation, like as well, obviously that you're used to relationships with more drama and this is different for you. Now at the same time when she said that, Alyssa and David both leaked a smile for about half a second. It was just this one and then stopped it. That's what we call elements of what we call duper's delight. If people are being deceptive in sharing behavior, if they think people believe them or they've taken up their story, their brain goes, oh, that's a win. And we leak a really quick smile. So that was one of their prepped up lines, like everything's in that as well, that because the experts took it up, they went, yep, let's take that as a win.
Wow. Now I'm going to have to I remember that because I was like, did you just say that about David, about like the intellectual thing?
There's an even smaller one than that if you like that I picked up that one. There was the bit with when Gia left one of the dinners, she said, I'm going to the bathroom. And then she ended up just taking off. Mm-hmm. As they're going then, the camera's on Scott as he's going into the lift and saying about, oh, did you know she was going to go? And no, I had no idea. And then just as the lift's closing, you see, for 1/25th of a second, and like it did that. So you see, we leak these behaviors at different times. Yeah.
Because that's where he's like, I'm going to go get my wife. And I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, that's so romantic. He's going to go get Gia. Yeah. Oh man. Thanks, Scott. You ruined that for me.
I get that a lot. I get people say, oh, hang on a sec. So sadness looks like this, happiness looks like this. You've just wrecked half my soapies that I watch and whatever else. But hey, if it improves your real relationships because you're more aware.
Yeah.
Mel has passed away overnight. But if we talk about and link that to part of what we're talking about from human behavior, her husband Gareth shared some words, and one of the things that he shared is probably one of the most powerful sentences I've ever heard. He said that even in her final moments, Mel ushered us in close and shared words with me that will sustain me for the rest of my life. Now, if you think really what that means, and I know we're talking about human behavior and connection for these sort of things, to know that in her final moments, she was still so other person centered, and those words sustain me for the rest of my life. Does that not tell you, if we get our connection right, if we are more aware and more selective with our words, the power of that with connection? So, I mean, to know that that was the final impact really that Mel had, sharing words and connection that would sustain in the rest of their life, that reiterates everything, firstly, that we know about Mel and her impact, but also it reiterates the importance of true connection and being able to understand others and share the right words. The fact that he shared so powerfully and given such insight to the connection that it makes it an even greater loss.
What a bright light she was. Like, I just thought she was sincere, and I love that she stood up for people, because I was not a Juliet fan at all. I don't
think anybody was.
Like, I was like, why did you say stay? Joel, I grew to love him. I believe him. I believe he is true to himself. His, wacky, unfiltered, crazy, laughable, who I just was so drawn to him after when he left the wedding. I was like, I like this guy, and I was really grossed out by I'm sorry, Juliet.
Yep. No, you'd be sorry.
Yep.
I think a lot of people felt the same.
I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
It was like there's some type of switch or something that they're doing this season. I'm like, so Scott, you mentioned me in a message that you've heard from some of the cast members.
I've heard from quite a few. Yep.
I bet I can guess which ones they are.
You see, normally people think I just hear from the people where I've said good things about them. And
I know
so there's been some
is trying to pop up on every radio station she can possibly get her teeth into. As soon as she hears them talking about her, she rings in and says, "Oh, I want to come on! I want to come on!" And I'm like, "Of course you do."
No, I haven't heard from Gia. I have heard from Beck. And the difference, I think, with Beck compared to previous people and my videos I've shared, here's where I think she's acted the wrong way. Here's some actions. She's taken feedback on better than most people in prior seasons, where she's actually said some of the things you've done now. And as I'm seeing these episodes coming out, I'm seeing myself, so I'm learning more about myself. So thank you. I'm glad you're being direct. Hit me between the eyes with it, which is it's a good mature approach. So you met Rebecca, who else have I spoken to? Sam. So I've spoken to Sam. It's funny because you don't know who sees the videos. I know some of them share them around. So everyone has been positive. So that's pretty much been the ones that have reached out. Like we've had a chat about different things. And the good thing is that everybody that has communicated has said, even if I've shared some things that they haven't liked, have said what you've shared has been fair. So I see that. So the communication has been good.
It must be very, very hard to watch yourself back on these things. Must be crazy.
You're now looking at and you see how others around you react to that. And, I didn't feel like that when I was there. So I think it'd be very confronting for a range of them.
I'm a big fan of Danny, not with Beck.
Yeah, it's all right. We know what you mean. To be honest, we know what you mean. Yeah.
There's something about him that I'm like, I think he's a good guy. My intuition is saying that. Do you think that deep down he's a genuine dude?
I'd say that he's somebody that is doing a lot more probably behind the scenes image work than what people realize, because he's not as direct as others about it. I think that he's very focused on everything when it comes to old school morals, ethics, and integrity. So people ask me why I thought that. I said, I'm guessing from a work point of view, he deals with people in a commercial relationship where he needs to build respect and trust really quickly for these sort of things. And then I found out he does real estate and property. So it makes sense. He's very much focused on the image and integrity point of view. So he'll have a joke and do whatever, but then you'll see him process and you'll get a fear micro expression, and then he'll very quickly correct himself with these things. So I think his take on comedy and things has put him in a vulnerable position for these sort of things that he's tried to try and cover really quickly.
Rosa and Scott, what individual is your favorite this season?
Two different reasons why. I need to say two. One, from a genuine point of view, I've liked Stella's calm, confident, and assertiveness for somebody that really English mightn't be like her first language. I think she's managed some trauma and difficult elements there quite well. And I think she's been vulnerable, but she's been strong when she's needed to be, when she's had some of those things. So I'd say I look at from a behavior point of view, Stella's been my favorite person, for seeing those as well. Where I've seen the other part then from other favorite would be Joel. I think that people, although he's got a bit of a bad rap initially on social media, the reason that his mum and him are the same from a comedy point of view, that's been obviously their bonding element as well. That's so a large part of what you see is who I believe him to genuinely be. While he may have exaggerated some parts, I think he is one just weird, quirky individual. You do. So I think he's been fun. Yeah.
I love it. That's my two favorite as well. Rosa,
Okay.
I would have to say Stella. I think she is conducting herself with a lot of poise and maturity, and I understand a few of the points that she's making, because I'm obviously European as well, so I understand a few of the old-fashioned traits that she's talking about, but I really think that she has a lot of maturity, and I think to a certain degree I possibly like Alyssa, but if you're saying that a lot of it's put on, she did sort of hold herself very well.
Hmm.
And that bit couldn't have been put on when she was in the confrontation.
So sometimes you've got to think about why they've acted that way. So why
Yeah.
would she act as well and not be defensive with the relationship? Because if the
Yeah.
relationship's not real and proper, why do you feel like you need to defend it?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely see some admirable elements there as well. There's like a range of people, but if we come down to the favorites, yeah, it would be Stella and then Joel.
Yeah.
This was so much fun, you guys. Scott, before we head out, could you tell everyone what you have coming up and where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so from a social media point of view, it's Scott Taylor Official is my Instagram and Facebook, and Behavior Revealed is my TikTok, the Aussie version, so IOUR. What I've got coming up, so 1st of April, I've got, so it's not April Fool joke, Theatre Royal in Sydney, 2.5 hours of teaching people facial micro-expressions, body language, deception detection, a mix of those sort of things. And yes, there's a couple of MAFS this season cast members that will be in the audience as well. Other than that, yeah, just lots of training, and then the behavior IQ stuff we do, which is the behavioral artificial intelligence, with helping a lot of people. So I'm really enjoying it.
That's amazing. You guys, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Call Me Obsessed Podcast. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.